When you talk about writing compelling copy, one of the first things that most experts will tell you to do is to go through an ideal client avatar exercise. This is where you get really clear about who you want to work with, who is going to be reading your copy, what they do for a living, what their gender is, what their family looks like, how much money they're making, what they struggle with, what they want, what their favorite Backstreet Boys album is. You get really detailed. But what you don't do is talk about where they are in their journey with you. Are they just coming to your website for the first time? Have they read a couple of your posts? Have they been religiously following you for years? There's generally not that clarity with at what point in the process someone is. I'm Whitney Ryan, and in this video I'll tell you exactly what stage you want to speak to have maximum impact with your copy. One of my favorite, possibly number one favorite TV show is Friends. And I think this is because my mom loved it, but never let us watch it when we were growing up. Thursday nights, we had to be in bed by 8 because mom was downstairs. We just had one TV. Mom was downstairs watching Friends, and it was too adult for us to watch. So once I was allowed to watch it, I don't know if that's why I became so obsessed, but I became obsessed with Friends and still am. Like, I would probably choose it over just about every show. And what's so great about Friends and why it's so universally appealing is that you could watch any episode in the 10 seasons. You could close your eyes and pick one at random, and you will enjoy it just as much as someone who's watched the entire series up to that point. And this is true of a lot of sitcoms, of Big Bang Theories or Seinfelds or Everybody Loves Raymond's. They're designed in the same way, that you could watch any episode, you could be flicking through the channels, you could pull up an episode of Big Bang Theory, and you're going to be able to enjoy it because you don't need a lot of background to be able to appreciate it. And this is in total contrast to something like a Game of Thrones, where I have watched every single episode and I'm still confused half of the time about who the characters are or where the storylines are or any of that stuff. And how this applies to your copy and where you want someone in the journey when you're speaking to them is that you want to have the sitcom approach when it comes to your copy. That means that every page on your website, every blog post, every email that you send out, you want to clearly communicate to somebody who doesn't know you yet, who it's their first time sitting down. You want them to be able to, just like, any episode in Friends, come to your blog and click on any blog post and be able to understand what's going on. With copywriting, we say you want to write to your unconverted prospects. That's basically anybody that hasn't purchased from you yet. At the end of the day, your website and your blog are marketing tools. They're there so that you can speak to people who haven't bought from you and have them know, like, and trust you enough to buy from you. That's the end goal. So we always want to be, and we always will be, talking to people who haven't purchased from us yet, those unconverted prospects. And in order to speak to the largest amount of unconverted prospects, you want to talk to the people who, of course, are your loyal audience and who love you and have been following you for a while. But you also want to speak to the brand new people, the person who just found you through a Google search, or who was referred to you, or who saw your name pop up in a Facebook group. You want both of those people to feel at home reading your content. And so there's two basic ways that you can do this. The first is by just kind of keeping that filter in mind. When you sit down to write, or when I sit down to write, I always picture who I'm going to be writing to. And this is where those ideal client avatar exercises come in really handy. So I think, okay, who's going to be reading my copy? Who's going to be absorbing this message? I kind of picture them in my mind. And I add into that it's somebody brand new to my list. So I never want to be talking about something really, really high level unless I've gone into number 2, which I'll share in a minute. But I kind of keep that filter just to say, would this make sense to somebody if this was their first time interacting with me? And I always want the answer to be yes before I publish something. Now, the second way you can do this, because I'm not saying everything has to be super basic, everything has to be really introductory, really foundational, it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. So you can talk to an audience that's been around for a little longer, you can go into some more advanced topics, but you always want to kind of leave a trail of breadcrumbs for the newbies over here to find their way. So if I was writing a really high level post on headlines, for example, if I wanted to write a blog post with some really intricate examples of headlines, I would start the piece kind of in the introduction somewhere. I would link to an earlier post I have about headlines that might talk about the basics, that might explore some of the more foundational levels of headlines, to essentially say, you know, if you're new to this, or if you haven't read this yet, or you haven't read about headlines yet, go check this out and then come back to this more advanced stuff. This is actually a great way to kind of get 2 for 1 with your blog idea juice. So sometimes I'll think of a more advanced topic and say, oh, but people would really need to know this first. And so I'll write the this first article, put that out, and then a couple weeks later, I will give the advanced one, linking back to the foundational one. So I hope that makes sense. But that's really the best way to make any piece of content that you're going to put out there apply to your entire audience. The tool that I love for this, and I couldn't do this without, is a blog story. And that's kind of my quirky little name for your blog index, where you have a list of all your posts and the links attached to them and keywords, so that you can search. It's a searchable document, really easy to search for whatever you need. This is what I use if I were writing that headline post. I could quickly search for my foundational headline post, grab the link, and easily put it in there. So if you want your own blog story that is really, really helpful, saves you a ton of time once you get into this mindset of writing for somebody who's brand new to you. I'm not sure where this video will be, but I'm going to link to it somewhere around here. So you can download a template for free that will majorly help you as you start writing to your unconverted prospects. So I hope that was helpful. I hope you're starting to see how writing to somebody that's brand new to you is really going to be your best bet to reach as many unconverted prospects as possible. So let me know in the comments what you think, if this makes sense, if this is something that you already do, or if you disagree. If you feel like you want to write to people who have been your loyal fans for years and already know you, let's talk about that and let's explore what that would look like. So can't wait to hear from you. Leave me a comment and hope you're having an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next video.